Hi, everybody. Welcome to our episode of Continence Chat. We're glad that you're here. I am here today with my colleague, 𝗁𝗲𝗄𝗏, and we have a very special guest with us. I think many people will be familiar with Laura Muñoz. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Welcome, Laura, to Continence Chat. We're grateful. We know how busy you are that you're spending your time to be with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and to talk with you both about continence and all the things and how they affect dementia and senior living in general.
Super. Yeah. To help kind of kick things off, are you able to share? I know 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗲𝗀 has a very unique model when it comes to caring for people who have dementia and cognitive decline. Do you mind just sharing a little bit of background, how that came to be, and then your role with the community?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So yes, 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀 has a very unique model. What we do is very different from what you'll see in most communities. We're independently owned, so we're not corporate backed. We're owned by 3 families. And I'm sure mostly everybody who's listening has heard of 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗂. He is he's our operating owner. So there are 3, families, but James is the one who lives close by and helps to operate the facility. The model that we use at 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀 is unique because we use our own approach. So we have our own dementia methodology. We have a very high staffing ratio of 1 caregiver to every 4 residents, which is kind of unheard of in senior living. But we believe that in order to provide quality dementia care, you need to have enough people to care for the people living with dementia. It's not something that you can just do 1 to 16 in a successful way, not using the approach that we have. So we have our very specific methodology that we've come up with on our own, and we're constantly and consistently revamping that. So we do case studies based off of our residents' experiences, and essentially we have a hypothesis and we're consistently tweaking it to try and see how can we end with the best result. So if you do this, then this will be the result. And if you do this and it doesn't work, how can you modify it and then do this so that it does work and it still looks like the same type of interactions, the same type of approach, but the resident has more successful days.
Yeah, I think too, I've gotten to know James a little bit over the years, and I feel like you and I have gotten to know one another throughout the last year. But one of the things that strikes me about 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, and you tell me if I'm correct in my thinking, I think what makes you folks unique is you don't make assumptions ahead of the curve for your residents. You're not always assuming. And I think there was, I don't know if it was a LinkedIn post or a video or something, but it honestly, the little things stick with me. But it was, if residents are eating steak, let's not assume that they are not going to be able to use a steak knife to cut the meat because they have dementia. Let's not already go there. Let's give them the knife and see if they can use it like any of us would use a knife to cut the steak. Like it's the little things that to me are the big things because they're the life things. And I think 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, I find your model to be very unique. It's people caring for people, which there are a lot of wonderful communities out there where there are people caring for people, but I think, I don't know if 𝗁𝗵𝗆s the word or just cozy or really deep. I don't know, maybe all those size it up from what is perceived on the outside of an outsider looking in.
I think the biggest thing for us is that, yes, so we try to fill up their can-do bucket, which is kind of, I guess, a generic way of saying what you were saying, but we try to do, like, how often in senior living do you have a family member who comes to, a sales director or an executive director and says, well, mom can't do this anymore, and she can't cook, and she can't do her own laundry, and she can't do this, and she can't do that. And we're filling up all the things that mom can't do. And we like to say, well, what kind of things is she doing? What does she do? What can she do? And let's fill up her can-do bucket. And so we take all of the things that mom can still do, and we find ways to use that to help her have success in meeting her purpose. And so what is happening? For example, we take our residents to go get their nails done. And it seems like such a small thing, but we have women who have been very, what's the word I'm looking for? have been like always been that way. They've always gone to go get their nails done. They've always been very concerned with their the way that they appear, you know, their looks, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of who you are. Then let's help you facilitate that. So we take a group of ladies once a month and we go get our nails done. And we have a specific nail salon that we go to where we've gone in and talked to the people who work there and provided some training on how to interact successfully with our residents. And we go all together and they treat us like everybody else. And I will never, ever forget the very first time we had, I'm not sure if it was the first time that we went, but it was the first time that this resident was going with us. She had moved in, I think probably just a month prior. And I said, you know, let's go, we're going to go get our nails done. And she said, like real people.
Oh,
talk about like knife in your heart. You're like, yes, like absolutely. Yes. And we'll also go get coffee and ice cream if you want that too. Like we will do whatever we can to help those people, those residents, you know, each individual feel like they're just everybody else. They're just like everybody else. There's nothing extraordinary or out of reach that they're unable to do. And it's really important to us that we're able to facilitate whatever that looks like for every, you know, not everybody wants to go get their nails done. Some people want to hang their laundry. Some people want to fold blankets. Some people want to help the caregivers make beds, and that's their purpose. We want to make banana bread. Yesterday, I took my son to work with me for a little while, and one of the residents asked him, what is your favorite thing to eat? And he said, I like chocolate. And she said, I'm going to make you chocolate chip cookies. And she will. You know,
wow.
She has a recipe for it. She will make him I guarantee you, I will come home from work on Monday with a little box of chocolate chip cookies because she is determined, and we'll make it an activity. You know, we'll provide all of the ingredients, and caregivers will help facilitate her, you know, either making the cookies or directing others on how to make the cookies. And it's all about fulfilling that purpose and meeting those unmet needs. And so, you know, a lot of times in memory care communities, you have residents who have behavioral expressions and they're labeled as aggressive or as wanderers or exit seeking. And we don't label our residents as anything. If they're having a difficult time, it's because they have a need that isn't unmet. It is unmet. And our goal is to figure out what is that need and how can we meet it for you? And how can we help you facilitate meeting your own need? Because that's a different type of satisfaction.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm having flashbacks here. The moment you said that you go into the nail salon and you meet with the staff, that's a game changer. I was thinking back, I had taken my mom to a nail salon and she had dementia. It was disastrous. Every conversation, the interactions, the questions they drilled her with, it was horrific and very uncomfortable for her. So just to have the thought to go in ahead of time and pave the way for these residents to have a delightful experience and to feel like real people, right? Yeah. And your whole thought of the can-do bucket, it just spins everything in a positive manner. You know, we're not going to focus on the bad stuff or the things I can't do anymore, but what can I do? It changes the whole trajectory of somebody's attitude, I would think. So I just applaud you for that. I mean, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I'm glad that you said it's a mindset, because that is, I mean, it's one of our core values. It's what we operate our company off of, is that our mindset matters and impacts everything that we do and achieve. Everything. And that we hold our caregivers to that standard. We hold our management team to that standard. You know, everybody is held to this standard of the way that you think when you come in here is going to affect the way that you operate. It's going to affect the way that our residents, whether they have a successful day or not, and helping people feel like connected to that and connected to understanding that it is about positivity. It is about perception and perspective on when you look at someone who is having a difficult time. You know, it's like, I use this example a lot, so forgive me if you've heard it before, but it's kind of like, you know, has anybody, when you're having a bad day, if you're married or if you have, you know, a boyfriend, girlfriend relationship, whatever relationship you have where you're having a difficult time and someone tells you, oh, don't be sad. How many times does that work?
Yeah.
Zero. It's 0 times. And that my husband, oh, don't be upset. Oh, okay. I'm good. You know, no, it doesn't work like that. If anything, it's only going to fuel the fire. And now I'm livid instead of just irritated. So I think about that when it comes to our residents. You know, if we're, you know, how often have you heard in a senior living person, oh, don't be sad, you're not alone, I'm here with you. And we don't believe that you can just, that you could put a Band-Aid on somebody's feelings, on their emotions, and say, oh no, it's okay. But it's not okay. Like, if they're having those feelings, you need to sit in it with them. So we sit in it with them, though. You know, that's the game changer there. It's not, oh, don't be sad, you're not alone, I'm here with you. It's, I'm so sorry that you're sad. Can I sit here with you and be with you? And that's a different conversation, because then it's I validate your feelings. I understand that you're having these emotions. Can I sit with you in it? And let's get through it together. And then when we're done, maybe we go have an ice cream, or maybe we go have a cup of tea. But I'm not going to use something else to redirect you into believing that everything is okay and it should just, you should just be fine, you know, because I tell you to. You have real people with real emotions, and that's hard. And so how do you cope with that? You know, you sit in it with them.
Yeah. That resonates so well. I think of like two things that you've touched upon is to me what I'm hearing, and I am a total advocate of this. You cannot tell people at any age how to feel. You feel how you feel. So
Right.
you know, I've heard kind of similar of, you shouldn't feel that way. You don't know how you can't feel. All you can do is, to your point, sit in it with them, or to your point, I'm sorry you feel that way. And then to me, depending on scenarios, through education of different subject matter, depending on the scenario, education can help anybody feel better with, I believe knowledge is power. Like I just do. I think knowledge just helps us. So any scenario, whether it's girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, you know, someone who's going through neurocognitive, the education part can help people feel differently through education, but you cannot tell, in my opinion, to your point, of how to feel. And then I think your can-do bucket, that to me, can-do ties with purpose. What can I do? I have purpose. If you're telling me everything I can't do, or I'm telling you everything I can't do, let's put our head down. I lost purpose here. Those are the couple of things that trigger, but yeah, you inspire, Laura. I find myself like just kind of listening, and it's just all good stuff, the way the thinking behind things. Yeah, I'm really impressed with the whole organization of what you do. So you had shared a story offline, and I said, oh, I got to hit the record button or whatever about, I know we've been partnered up with Bella Groves, I'll say with Think Tank and different conferences. You and I were just together at the 𝗟𝗏 conference, which is one of my favorites out there. And now I know we're going to be working in very short order together with a more, you know, formal agreement, as you've got residents in place and you've been guiding them towards Seni products already. But do you mind sharing the story that you just shared with Susie and I offline? Because we're trying with Continence Chat to help make uncomfortable conversations more comfortable for people who are living or helping people with incontinence, and then sharing the good stuff of how together we can help people live more quality lives who are struggling with incontinence.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been actually a couple of different times that we've had residents who have kind of had an awakening of sorts after, you know, changing to a more superior product. But the most recent thing that happened was I had a resident who, his mother moved into our community the middle of or beginning of April, and she doesn't use incontinence products or anything. She's still, you know, in a good place there. But I was having a conversation with him the other day about his mother-in-law, and she has a different form of dementia and has been struggling with a lot of different, you know, physical issues, as well as her cognitive impairment and different problems that they've had. And one of the things that he shared with me was that she has consistent UTIs. And so I asked him, I said, well, does she use incontinence products? And he said, yeah, she does. I mean, I'm not sure what she uses or what type of products or anything. And I said, well, I would encourage you to look into the Seni products because they, we believe here that they are superior to other incontinence products on the market. And I explained to him about the fit and how that's different. Measuring the waist, measuring the hips, and picking a size based on fit, and then also absorption need, and that's a totally different situation than, oh, here mom wears a 12 in pants, then this is probably the right size for her. And so they purchased the products, and this was about a month ago, and then came back to me the other day, just Wednesday. Today's Friday. So just on Wednesday said that, wow, thank you so much for introducing us to those products. Her mom hasn't had, my wife's mother hasn't had a UTI since we changed over, and she was having them like consistently all the time. And she's sleeping better, which is a huge deal. Because it affects her whole mood all day long. That is the thing that I was so excited to talk about with you ladies today, is about the sleep and how much of a difference that makes. And so for this particular woman who I've never met, I know that she is sleeping better, and it's changing her behavioral expressions for her family, and the family dynamic itself is improving because the sisters are not fighting all the time because mom is having a hard time all day long. Mom's not having as hard of a time all day long because she's sleeping through the night. She's sleeping through the night because she's not getting up every 2 hours to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And that is life-changing. It's life-changing for more than just mom. Being a primary caregiver is hard. But when you're a primary caregiver for someone that cared for you and you can't help her feel better, how do you move past that? That's hard. And so just a simple thing as sharing information about this product is superior to others and it might help has changed their family. And that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Susie, is it me or do you, I feel like Laura, like you could be one of our Seni colleagues, honestly, like this, because, in a wonderful way. I love the education component. You ripple things. This is what we're trying to kind of share across America. And it is the immediate person ultimately that it's helping, but the ripple effects just go on and on like a circle that just keeps rippling out, rippling out, rippling out. And you do such a nice job of rippling that out. I just, I get excited talking with you. It's like, you can come on over on the Seni team. It's like, thank you. You get it. You get it. That's what I love, is you have an understanding, size, fit, all that good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is really, well, I did used to be a teacher, so it is really easy for me to kind of connect the pieces together as far as, why it's important for people to understand. But I think that, it falls down into what you were saying about purpose, is that if you know someone's purpose, if you know what their intent is, it makes it a lot easier to help meet their needs. And whether it's a person living with dementia or a primary caregiver or the husband of a primary caregiver, knowing what it is that bothers them and having enough contacts and connections out in the industry where if you need something and I know somebody who might be able to help you with this. Here, let me give you their information. And that's a human thing. That's like, let's just be humans with each other. And if you have an issue, let me see if I can help you. Having that connection is really, really important to us.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of what I see as almost the theme of what you've shared today, is you're acknowledging their humanity. And you're not trying to fix somebody.
That's right.
Or point out, well, you're doing it wrong, or you shouldn't feel that way, or whatever. You're acknowledging, and like you mentioned, you're sitting with them in it, whether it's fear or confusion or sadness, disappointment. It's part of being human.
That's right.
And that's okay. And I'm curious, what led you down this different type of dementia methodology? Because I don't think we've ever interviewed someone that quite handled those situations the way that you and your community are handling them. Wow,
I wish I could take the credit, but I cannot. So I am, this was before, this is 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗏 and his approach and methodology that he's developed and how to interact more successfully. He has years of experience in dementia care and in the senior living industry. And I think it really just boils down to that. These are people. And I think when you experience things differently and you experience the industry or a community in a different way, it doesn't feel good inside. I can't tell you how it became, how it came to be or where the approach came from, because that is James's story to tell. But what I can tell you is that from the moment I walked into Bella Groves, when I interviewed for the very first time, I knew that that was where I belonged. And my own grandmother, suffered from different ailments and things, but she also had a mild cognitive impairment of some sort. And we knew that she needed more, but you don't know it until it's past. At the time we were thinking about physical needs. What can we provide for her? Who's going to take care of her to the very best of their ability? And she was in a nice, skilled nursing facility. And, but it wasn't this. And it resonated so deeply with me when I went into that interview for the first time with James, and I walked into the community, and there's no lobby, in Bella Groves. You walk in the front door and you're in the house, and it's a small 16-bed house, and you walk into the living room, and there's residents sitting there, and they greet you, and they're, the kitchen is open, and you can smell the food, and you can hear the noises of the chef preparing lunch or dinner, depending on what time you get there. And caregivers are walking around, and everybody's smiling. And I'm like, is this for real? Like, did you stage this? Because this doesn't feel natural for a senior living community. Of course, my only experience had ever been with my grandmother. And you walk into a very stale environment, which is most, skilled nursing facilities. I'm sure there are some that are not like this, but the one where she lived was very just quiet and stale, and carpet and, big giant fountain in the middle of the room, and people are just kind of everywhere. And my grandmother didn't have joy in her life there at the community that she lived in. And so I went into this interview and I thought, oh man, this is different. And it was 3-hour interview with 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗏. And I cried during my interview because I wish that my grandmother had been able to experience joy like these residents were able to do every single day. And that's the thing that drives, I think, for me, it's what drives me every day, is to help people find that joy and find that passion for serving others and for serving our residents, for serving the team, the care team, the management team. It doesn't matter who it is. Everybody's got stuff. Everybody's got something difficult that they're going through, and you sit in it with them, and it doesn't matter who it is. I've sat with a caregiver, and while she cried about something that she was going through at home, and she's still here. She's been with us for over a year. I've sat on the floor with a resident who was having a hard time and crying. And I didn't tell him, oh no, sir, get off of the floor. It's, you don't want to lay down there. I laid down on the floor with him, and caregivers do the same thing.
Wow.
Because it's a human thing. Somebody is having a hard time, you're in it with them. And I wish that I could tell you the story of how it came to be with this beautiful approach and methodology and all of the things. But what I know is that when you really, really think about it, it makes sense and it feels good. It feels good to know that a person is having a hard time, you help them through it. And we do it all day long, whether it's through, I'm having a hard time going to the bathroom, I'm having a hard time eating my lunch, or I'm having a hard time because I miss my family. Then we go through that with them, and whatever that looks like. So the key to us one of the largest keys for our success is our staffing ratio. So having that 1-to-4 staffing ratio ensures that we have the time to be able to sit in the feelings with the residents.
Yeah, I love that, Laura. I have a feeling that the legacy of Bella Groves, and I don't want to rush anybody's life, residents, communities, anybody's life, but I was at I think it was Leading Age, a conference about a year ago. It was the first time I had ever heard of this. So remember years ago, family doctors might have cared for your mother, and then they care for the daughter, and then the daughter has a young one, and it's generational with care.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought of generational of care with senior living. And I came across a gentleman who I think, don't quote me, was out of Minnesota. They had family members with different generations that had gone through their community. And I just thought that was extremely telling in a wonderful way of the care that good. I have a feeling that is going to be down the road, hopefully a long, long time down the road. But Bella Grove's one of the legacies of different family members because the care is that good.
I hope so. I think to that, to that point, I think the most interesting thing that has happened recently in our community is we had a resident who moved from a big box company and moved into our community in October of 2023, the very beginning of October 2023, just after Thanksgiving. And she had, several ailments. Her daughter, they'd all just moved here from another city in Texas, and she passed, but we had a billboard, which we have since taken down. We should probably put it back up. But we had this billboard, and she passed it every single day. And the billboard said, "Love is greater than dementia." And that was it. And then on the bottom, it had our logo, Bella Groves. And one day she reached out to us, and we went to meet her mother in the community that she lived in. And we had, a beautiful conversation with her. She was so sweet. Her name, of course, was, well, I guess I can't tell you her name. Anyway, she was it was beautiful. It was wonderful. And she was only with us for 2 months before she passed. And it was hard because we loved her so much. She was so sweet and just the sweetest little lady. And her family was wonderful. And her daughter now volunteers at our community. It's taken her 6 months to feel comfortable enough to come back, like ready. She was like, "I'm ready." And when she walked in, she'd been talking with our director of dementia programs, Kayla, for a while, setting it all up. And so I knew she was coming. So when she got there, I walked up to her and she hugged my neck and she gave me this squeeze. And she said, "It took me so long to be ready, but now I'm ready." And I said, "I'm so excited that of course I'm crying. She's crying. And I said, "I'm so excited that you're here. What are you going to do for us? Like, what are you going to do with the residents?" And she says to me, "I want to do the caregivers' chores so that they can do what they need to do with the residents. I want to do whatever tasks, like let me clean toilets, let me scrub the floors. Like you tell me, I want to do the cleaning so that they can do the loving."
Wow.
Like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Like,
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's
and so
amazing.
she comes twice a week, every week, and she does the tasks so that the caregivers can sit and visit more with our residents and do what we did. That she said in her, in her words, that it made her mom's life so filled with joy. Wow. That she wanted to be able to share that. And I mean, that's amazing, right? That is amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's human, back to humanity, right? That's just being human. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Thank you. And right back at you for any community needs that you folks have too. We'll keep supporting one another.
All the great caregivers, all of them.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Y'all have a great weekend as well.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.